In a time long past, when the realms of men and dragons overlapped, joy was an unknown concept. The people existed beneath a shadow of perpetual terror, forced to surrender the fairest maidens of their clan as offerings to ensure the survival of the rest. After selecting the 5 loveliest young women of the village, the community commences the sacrificial rite. The girls' hair is intricately braided before they are bound and placed into separate vessels. These boats are then cast adrift upon a frozen expanse of water, where the brides of the dragon await their sorrowful doom. As the surrounding crowd chants an eerie, foreboding melody, the beast materializes from the distant haze and selects the maiden destined to be the tribute. Watching his cherished one being seized, a knight among the onlookers resolves to pursue her. Following an arduous trek, he finally locates the monster's hidden den. Yet, upon entering, the knight is met with the grim truth that the maiden no longer breathes. Overwhelmed by a tempest of anguish and fury, he lunges at the beast, driving his lance deep into the creature's throat. On that fateful day, the knight liberated his kin from their shackles of dread, earning him the eternal title of the Dragon Slayer. Many seasons passed, and the calamities wrought by the monster faded from memory, the ghastly offering ritual softened into a mere marriage custom. When the day arrives for Igor, descendant of the Dragon Slayer, to wed the Duke's youngest daughter, the whole city erupts in festivity. It is the most eagerly awaited union in years. Assisted by her elder sibling, Miroslava, known simply as Mira, readies herself to greet her betrothed, though her demeanor betrays no excitement for the nuptials. While Yaroslava weaves her hair into tight plaits, the younger girl laments the absence of dragons, voicing a wish that she might have wed a genuine dragon slayer instead of merely his heir. Incensed by this remark, Yaroslava scolds her sister for her perpetual daydreaming. Mira retorts that her elder sister is simply bitter over her own lack of a husband, a jab that stokes Yaroslava's ire to a boiling point. As the two sisters exchange heated words, the prince strides into the chamber and urges Mira to make haste, for the assembly of guests grows restless. Despite her reluctance toward the union, the young duchess chooses to honor her father's command and proceeds with the rite, trusting that affection for Igor will blossom in due time. In reverence to the ancestral sacrifice, the ritual adheres strictly to tradition. The bride reclines within a wooden skiff to be conveyed to the ceremonial altar. As Igor hauls the boat across the glassy, frozen lake, the attendees intone the ancient ballad composed to glorify the Dragon Slayer. Then, without any warning, the utterly unforeseen transpires. A dragon looms from the distant skyline, and Mira finds herself snatched away. The beast, having appeared as if from a storm cloud, attempts to abscond with the bride but is momentarily thwarted by Igor, who yanks the vessel downward with a rope. However, before the Duchess can reach the safety of the ice, the monster reclaims its grip and spirits her away to its desolate lair. Arriving at that grimy, shadow-filled cavern, Mira replays the terrifying journey in her mind and notices the fresh wounds left by the dragon's talons. Desperate to flee this prison, she attempts to scale the rocky walls but soon detects she is under surveillance by a small, wild creature intent on intimidating her. Startled, she seizes a stone for defense, only to be halted by a male voice instructing her to lower the weapon. He warns that continuing will only further provoke Otetsu. The odd animal approaches, sniffs the young woman, then retreats, at which point the stranger introduces himself as Armin. Mira immediately pleads for his aid in escaping, but Armin insists that eluding the dragon is a futile endeavor, leading the Duchess to deduce that he too is a captive. When questioned about the ritual song her kin were chanting, Mira explains it was her fiancé's wish, adding that everyone believed dragons had long since vanished from the earth. Armin, however, counters that it was precisely that melody which summoned the beast, resulting in her capture. Observing the blood on her garments, he offers her a salve of crushed herbs for her injuries, and for a fleeting moment, their eyes truly meet. Resolved to return to her homeland, Mira beseeches Armin to create a diversion, yet the prisoner maintains that leaving this place alive is an impossibility. Furious, the Duchess brands him a coward and uses a heavy rock to plug the crevice that permitted their conversation. Immediately, she begins formulating a scheme of escape, hacking off her own long braids to fashion a rope for climbing to the summit. Before Mira can even begin her ascent, the dragon reappears, quaking the walls with its roar to cow her into submission. Once the creature retreats, she scrambles to the wall and calls out for Armin but receives only hollow silence. Convinced her soul companion has been lost forever, Mira weeps bitterly before steeling her nerves for the climb. Midway up, her improvised rope of hair snaps, sending her tumbling back to the stone floor. Despair floods her senses, and she furiously bashes the wall with a rock. After several heavy strikes, a hole emerges, and she decides to crawl through the gap in search of Armin. While navigating the dark passages, she spots a glimmer of daylight and hurries toward it, only to be ambushed by the dragon, which uses its immense bulk to corner her. During the frantic pursuit, the Duchess slips into a side cavern for cover, but the creature blasts a sphere of fire in her direction. Realizing the flames have missed their mark, the monster dispatches Otets to retrieve the girl. By the time the lemur catches up, Mira is poised on the brink of a cliff, ready to cast herself into the churning sea. In that instant, Armin emerges, pleading with her to step back from the edge. Observing that the lemur heeds the boy's instructions, Mira concludes that Armin is in league with the dragon and recoils from him. Taking a misstep, the Duchess plummets off the precipice. As she falls, she feels Armin's hands clamp around her body. Abruptly, his skin erupts in flame, and as if by some ancient sorcery, he metamorphoses into a majestic dragon. Realizing there is no time to spread his wings and soar, the beast uses its own body as a shield to cushion the girl's impact. Owing to this selfless act, Mira lands unscathed, but Armin lies grievously wounded on the shore. Seeing the motionless creature, the Duchess seizes the chance to cry for aid, unaware that her fiancé has already mustered a search party to retrieve her. However, during their voyage, Igor and his men become ensnared in an impenetrable fog bank and fail to navigate to the island's shores. Once Mira accepts that no rescue ship lingers nearby, she edges closer to the dragon and witnesses it revert to its human shape. Enraged, she contemplates eliminating Armin while he is too weak to rise. Yet, just as she hoists a stone to strike him, she notices Odette's frantic arrival and is stirred by the creature's palpable anguish at seeing its master prone and drowning. Despite her deep reluctance, the Duchess opts to aid her foe, using a strip of fabric to haul him back into the shelter of the cave. Reaching the top of a broad rock ledge, Mira sees the youth suddenly rise, his body engulfed in a corona of fire, only to collapse once more before the transformation can complete. Satisfied that Armin's life is not in immediate peril, Mira descends to the water's edge and climbs aboard a derelict shipwreck to attempt a crossing of the strait. Yet, before she can cast off, she spies a violent squall brewing on the horizon and chooses to delay her departure. Finding her way back to the rocky overhang, she rigs a crude shelter from sailcloth to fend off the rain while tending to the burns and gashes on Armin's back. Hoping to draw warmth from the dormant heat within him, she lies down with her spine pressed against his. When dawn breaks, she wakes beside a crackling campfire. After consuming the wild fruit Armin has left for her, she seeks him out and tries once more to persuade him to fly her home, but he confesses his inability. He recounts how, years ago, he was brought to this isle to dwell with his father, a dragon like himself. Though isolated from the world, Armin was content, for he revered his father deeply and aspired to follow in his winged shadow. One day, a vessel moored at the island, and the boy was eager to befriend its passengers. Instead, he witnessed his father's brutal slaughter, and on that day, a fierce seed of vengeance took root in his soul. When he underwent his first transformation, Armin's consciousness was inundated with the ancestral memories of his bloodline. He beheld visions of every maiden who had perished in the ghastly rite. In that moment, he understood his father was a monster and vowed never to walk that path. For decades, Armin wrestled his inner nature to restrain the dragon within, and he was largely successful until the day of Mira's wedding ceremony. Upon hearing the ritual hymn echoing across the water, the young man lost all mastery over himself. When lucidity returned, he discovered he had abducted a bride. After sharing this tale, Armin admits he cannot convey Mira home because he cannot tame the beast. He then asks for her patience, assuring her that a dragon slayer will eventually arrive to claim her, and Armin will offer no resistance. The quandary is that sailors who approach this isle, which rests upon the petrified skeleton of an ancient dragon, see nothing but a wall of mist. Legend holds that a traveler may only find the shore if the heart of a devoted maiden awaits him there. This implies Igor will only navigate the fog if Mira's feelings for him are genuine. While awaiting her betrothed, Mira volunteers to aid Armin's recovery, seeing as he was injured while saving her life. After offering Mira new chambers where she might hide should the dragon reawaken, Armin pledges to help her transform the barren hollow into a true domicile. He scours the island's periphery for chests brimming with human artifacts. Over the ensuing days, Armin labors to ensure his guest's stay is as comfortable as possible in that hostile environment, and Mira, in turn, reveals to him the simple splendor of living. Following a romantic stroll along the beach, where she watched flower petals swirl like snow in the breeze, Mira retreats to her chamber to find Otets rifling through her satchel. Though she cherishes her new existence, Mira cannot be certain Armin will forever subdue the dragon, so she had readied provisions in the event she needed to escape swiftly. As darkness descends, she invites Armin into her makeshift home, and they converse for hours. Surveying the space, the boy notes that it has never felt so warm or inviting, and he credits Mira for this transformation. As a gesture of gratitude, Armin reveals he has a gift and escorts her to the mountain's peak to ignite a cache of fireworks. Watching the vibrant colors burst and cascade across the night sky, Mira is overwhelmed with joy and feels an even deeper connection to the young dragon. Later that night, while dozing fitfully, Mira feels a cinder graze her cheek and jolts awake, frantically seeking Armin. During her search, she encounters the monster. Unlike their previous confrontations, the beast refrains from attacking. Instead, it allows her to draw near, but within seconds, the dragon's composure shatters, and Mira finds herself pinned against the rock. Fortunately, the young woman swiftly realizes it was merely a nightmare. When her eyes flutter open, Armin is at her side. He explains that her screams drew him to her bedside. Mira confesses she dreamt of the dragon and voices her terror that it might one day harm her. Hearing this, Armin swears a solemn oath that he will never permit the dragon to hurt her, declaring that she has made him feel reborn. When Armin retreats to his own quarters, Mira hears the faint melody of the instrument she gifted him drifting through the stone. In that quiet moment, she recognizes the unmistakable stirrings of love. Come morning, after bathing in the waterfall's cool spray, she adorns herself in a stunning crimson gown, hoping to captivate her beloved. While making his way toward Mira's room, a bouquet of freshly gathered blossoms in hand, Armin senses the onset of the shift. He sprints toward the cliff's edge, desperate to place as much distance as possible between his monstrous form and her sanctuary. His effort fails, Mira tracks him down. Terrified of losing command and hurting her, Armin insists he cannot wait for Igor to fetch her any longer. The Duchess, however, gently informs him that her fiancé will never find the path through the mist. She then reveals a kite she has stitched from salvaged cloth and requests Armin's assistance in launching it into the sky. As the kite dances on the wind, Armin steps closer, and their fingers accidentally brush. He instantly feels the dragon writhing to break free and excuses himself before Mira can detect the turmoil within him. Retreating into the deep chasm he employs as a cage for the beast, Armin battles his inner demon, playing the instrument Mira gave him to soothe his fevered mind. Once he has regained a tenuous calm, he awaits her return and resolves to explain the origin of a dragon's life. According to Armin, the reason no bones litter an island where countless women were slain is that the creature's hellfire reduces their remains to ash. From that ash, a new dragon is born. To spare Mira such a horrid fate, Armin declares that she will depart the island by boat at first light, allowing the wind to guide her to the open ocean. Having spoken these words, he retreats into the rift and undergoes his change, leaving Mira bereft of alternatives. Thus, at dawn, the young woman obeys. She hoists the tattered sail and drifts away, abandoning the lemur and her beloved to the lonely isle. After days trapped within the smothering fog, Igor decides to abandon the quest and orders the captain to turn the ship toward home. Instead of complying, Andrei reveals he made a vow to Igor's father to safeguard the family's reputation. Andrei intends to persist in the search and suggests Igor rest. The young man, however, has no desire to continue gambling with fate. Brandishing a blade at the captain, Igor asserts his belief that Mira is surely dead and that they must retreat before sharing her grim destiny. Just then, the crew spots a signal against the Grey Void. The warriors brace to confront the dragon, but to their collective astonishment, it is Mira's vessel that materializes from the haze. The Duchess is rescued. Upon bringing her aboard, Andrei prepares to sail for the island to slay the beast, but Mira interjects, claiming the creature has already perished. She begs her fiancé to steer for home. Though hesitant, the captain defers to Igor's command and spins the rudder toward the open sea, setting a course back to the city. Several days after her return, Mira establishes a new date for the wedding ceremony. For a second time, Yaroslava aids her younger sister in the bridal preparations. Meanwhile, Armin remains marooned on that remote island, alone with his ruminations and the fading echo of the happiest days of his existence. Though his heart is hollow and burdened by solitude, he sincerely wishes Mira joy and good fortune in her impending marriage. Before relinquishing his daughter's hand to the dragon slayer's grandson, the prince pulls her aside for a private word, stating that Mira is no longer bound by duty. The duke counsels his daughter to choose the man she loves, for he desires her to live a life rich with happiness and devoid of regret. Once more, Mira finds herself reclined in a wooden boat, wrapped in bridal linen, and is drawn toward the river where her fiancé will tow her. As Igor tugs on the tether, the young woman rises to her feet, halting the procession. She announces she cannot wed him because her heart belongs to another. Confessing before the entire assembly that she is in love with the dragon, Mira begins to sing the ancient song of her forebears. Far across the water, Armin, who has just stepped off a cliff's edge in a final act of despair, hears her voice echoing through the mist. He had intended to end his misery, unwilling to endure existence without his forbidden love. When Mira concludes the old chant, she waits for the dragon's arrival, but the horizon remains empty. As the crowd stands frozen in bewilderment, Igor orders his retainers to haul the bride ashore. Before they can reach her, the dragon descends. Seizing the Duchess, the monster soars away. The prince, watching his daughter vanish into the clouds, is comforted by the knowledge that she followed her heart. Spotting the dragon spiriting away his bride, Igor snatches a spear, aiming to halt the creature, while Yaroslava shrieks for him not to endanger her sister. Despite the risk that Mira might be struck, Igor is intent on vengeance, but Andrei intervenes, wresting the weapon from the young man's grip and knocking him to the ground. Upon reaching the island, the dragon carries Mira to the altar stone where countless maidens were immolated to spawn a new generation. Yet, just as Armin prepares to unleash his fiery breath, Mira cups his face and presses her lips to his. The monster flinches, confounded by this tender act. Mira realizes then that he has known only terror, never the soft touch of love. With that revelation, she declares she adores him for all that he is and kneels upon the stone, offering herself as sacrifice should that be his true desire. Hearing this, the fury within the beast subsides. It lowers its great head, resting it gently upon Mira's shoulder. From that moment onward, the two were inseparable. In time, they welcomed a daughter, to whom Armin recounts the legends of his past. After finishing the tale of how he met Mira, Armin tucks the child into her bed and instructs Otets to keep watch while he takes a stroll with his beloved. As the sun dips low, casting an amber glow across the sky, Armin shifts into his dragon form, and Mira climbs upon his back so that together, they may dance among the clouds. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this retelling brought you a moment of wonder, please show your support with a like and subscribe for more tales from distant lands.